She's funny, she's smart, she craves chocolate every day, and she is the Greek goddess of comedy. Here is your host, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Karis's Comedy Corner. My name is Ellen Karis, and this is the guest edition of Karis's Comedy Corner. I'm very excited about our guest. I wanted to get him on for a long time, and finally he fit us into his busy TV shooting schedule. So before we get to him, we always have to do the ads. We have to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Baywalk Marketing. Go to their website, baywalk.net, for all of your advertising and marketing needs. They can help you with any type of a flyer. They can help you analyze the demographics of your business. And they're also experts in the Greek community. Go to their website, hollywoodgreeks.com, for all of your Greek entertainment, and hellenicfestivals.org to find out where there is a Greek festival near you. Trust me, folks, there will be Greek festivals this summer. You will be eating a souvlaki made from a yaya that just got off a donkey from Crete. And our other sponsor is SelectFlex. What is it? It's an orthotic. What's an orthotic? It's also called an insert. You put it in your shoe. Why? Why? Because your entire body needs it. Your back, your knees, your shin, your ankles, your entire alignment. Everything starts from the foot and works its way up. And the beauty about these inserts is that there is a geometric beam in the arch where you can adjust the arch to firm, extra firm, or extra firm, depending on what your needs are. I crank it up to all the way to 3 when I do all my crazy aerobic exercises. I bring it down to 2 when I'm walking around New York City. I have them in all my shoes. They're great in Uggs, by the way, because Uggs have no arch support. I'm telling you right now, go to their website, selectflex.com, selectflex.com. And for Karis Comedy Corner listeners, there is a 25% discount if you type in the code FAMILY25, FAMILY 25, because I feel like you are my family, except I don't fight with you guys as much as I do my real family. They also have a 30-second video. Check it out. I'm telling you, they are the best inventions since suitcase on wheels, SelectFlex, and we thank them for their support. Get it? Support. Anyway, all right, we are going to have such a great time. I've been wanting to get this man, this very, very talented man that's been all over TV. You know what I refer to him as? He's that actor where I bet he gets a lot of this, and we're going to ask him right off the top, are you that guy? He's that guy, because he is a huge character actor. He's also a stand-up comedian. He is hilarious. He's from Brooklyn, but he lives in LA. That's okay. We understand that happens sometimes. People need to move out of New York City. So please welcome my guest, Brian Scolaro. How do you do? You're muted. You're muted.
I thought I unmuted myself. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Funny, I picked up a marijuana pipe. I'm like, oh, put it down. I'm like doing everything wrong. Everything I could do wrong, I'm doing wrong. But it's happened occasionally. It never happens when I was on television on a regular basis, it would happen in LA. But sometimes it would happen. It happens like in the Midwest a lot. You know, people like you look for where do I know you from? But it's basically I think the funniest one was I was sitting in the bleachers in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, like a suburb, with my girlfriend at the time, watching her nephew play football, and it's a little league football game. And the woman looks at me and she goes, "Weren't you on that show with Pamela Anderson?" I go, "Yeah." She goes, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I was like, I'm dating here. It's funny though. It was weird.
I love the work of a character actor. I think that if you study acting or if you are especially more, I think TV, because I think it's a little bit more recurring, but it's, to me, sort of like the most undeserved award. Like, there should be awards for character actors, just like
some great ones. Yeah, the Emmys always feel a little fake to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's like, so everyone who won happened to be a celebrity. What are the chances? But like, I loved like John Polito, and he was in all the Coen Brothers movies. He was he died, I think, a couple of years ago. I liked Mr. Twinkasetti from The Perfect Strangers. I thought he was great. I loved even the guy who played Art on Night Court. He was the superintendent for night. I love all the small little guys. I love what they bring to the table. I love,
absolutely.
I love when you get a show when a guy when they let you branch out, when they let you figure out to do something more with the lines. Like, you don't change the lines, but what else can you bring to the lines? And I like a director who lets you do that, or a
Right.
producer who lets you do that. Yeah.
So I am a product of watching TV sitcoms. That was for me, that was my babysitter.
Right.
My parents were so okay with me sitting in front of the TV for endless hours, as long as I was quiet, because I was very active, not hyperactive, because, I just noise emanated out of my mouth. So that, that interrupted my mother's gossiping on the phone and my father, reading the newspaper. My parents were lovely people, don't get me wrong, but they loved the fact that I can watch TV for hours. So
It was great.
I used to study like all of those character actors. I used to watch I Love Lucy with my great grandmother, the reruns. And they used to use a lot. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it was a good movie.
And they used to, like, back in the day also, when you watch those old shows like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, and and you'd see all these different people pop up. And I mean, they were, they shined, and they were so important to the story. And it was a good mix, because you weren't so focused all the time, or it wasn't just about like you said, the celebrities.
You want to see some good guest role actors? Watch Barney Miller. But I still DVR these shows. I wake up and I watch Barney Miller. I got WKRP in Cincinnati. I got News Radio. I watch a lot of old shows, and I love the guest roles on Barney Miller were always fantastic. Always fantastic. And a lot of shows, they'll give you a good guest role and then they ignore their cast. And sometimes they'll give a bad guest role and make everything their cast. Barney Miller had a good balance, and it was always funny people coming in and out. Mm-hmm. And they play like Stuart Pankin. Remember him from Not Necessarily the News? He was he was an arachnophobia. He put his hand in the cereal box and pulled out the dead spider. Anyway, that guy, he did like 3 roles on Barney Miller. And it was, I love watching the old actors, what they could do, what they were allowed to do. And you could build a whole career on just doing guest roles. Can't do that now.
I know. I mean, I love Seinfeld. I still watch it at 11. It relaxes me. It was the 90s. Yeah. It was before all this insanity. So it was the 4 of them, but there were so many supporting characters.
So many great guest roles.
The Newmans and the Mr. Pitt and all that, and all these people that really were so a part of it.
Yeah. So Jackie Rogers.
The one. Right.
All
Childs was that,
and also Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec did it too. Parks and Rec had a great cast of guest roles, and they would always bring them back. They'd bring them back all the time. So like Joan, Mo Collins from Mad TV played Joan on Parks and Rec. She came back like 12 times. Like, I love shows like that where they're so loyal to their guest roles, and they're great characters. I love guest roles.
I mean, you're living it. You do it. You've done it, and it's just incredible when I saw your body of work. When I first, when we first became Facebook friends, I scrolled through and I was like, oh my God, because you looked familiar, and I was like, where do I know him from? But I don't know why I feel like we met in New York, and maybe you were here. So let's just go back for a second. So you are raised in Brooklyn, Bay Ridge. Am I?
I was born in Bay Ridge, and I lived in Glendale, Queens, and then I lived in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Then I lived in Manhattan for a while. And so now I live in LA, and I've been here for about 19 years, 20 years.
Oh, really?
And I think I'm due to go back. Like, I missed with the pandemic, not to get all sad.
No.
But with the pandemic, when the pandemic started, it was heavily in Queens. And that's where my father and mother were. And my father got diagnosed with ALS, and he died 3 months later. And I couldn't see him because of the pandemic, because of the pandemic in Queens. And they were like, no, don't come. Because literally their neighbors were dying. Both their neighbors were dying, That's like an ex-girlfriend calling me. I'm sorry. But the phone's all the way over there. And if I get up, my penis is going to pop out of my pajama bottoms. We don't want that.
Oh, hang on. Wait, I need ratings, so you can get
Yeah, no, it'll be the opposite. They'll be like, what? But anyway, that's what's going on. So I couldn't even see him. So I feel like I want to move home. Like, as much as the acting career will suffer, but there's still acting in New York, just not enough to live on. For me, that non-Broadway wise. But I think it's time I go home. I wish I had been there for my father's death. So I feel like I got to go back and spend some time with my family. It's been here for 20 years. I love LA. It's very nice.
You fit well, even though you realize.
No, I don't fit well at all. No. They do not like.
You have a New York persona. When you just said 20 years, I was in shock. Like it is on you. It is stuck on you. You know that, right?
They do. Yeah, I know. They do not like that here. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I tried to write a joke about this. They don't like the directness of New York. They think New York is rude. New York's not rude. I always say New Yorkers are like, hey, potato salad, $3.50. Thank you. Boom, out. And everywhere else is, how are you? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. They don't want to hear all that. So then, like, New Yorkers are direct. They'll be like, hey, you got shit in your hair. Like, I did? Thank you for telling me. And then nowhere else they would tell you. You'd go home, look in the mirror, and be like, I'd shit my hair the whole time. Nobody told me. And another thing is they don't like, LA does not like the negativity that could come with a New Yorker. But we're not negative. We just believe that there's ups and downs in life. In LA, they want to, if you start telling somebody your problems, they don't want to hear it. If they say, how you doing? You're not supposed to answer. You're not supposed to answer. You're supposed to sound good. You're like, so I tried to write a joke about this. I like writing things that makes them uncomfortable because they don't want to be uncomfortable. It's like, how you doing, Brian? Hey, I feel like I got to take a shit, but nothing's coming out. I sit there, no shit comes out. Every time the dog sits on my lap, I get an erection. Is that weird? Like, I just do to say things like that because they get really uncomfortable knowing your feelings. They don't want to hear it. It's weird, huh?
I love what you just said. Before the pandemic, I was working out at this dance studio for quite a while, and I loved it. It was great, and I got a really good workout stuff. It's amazing. Like the older I get, the more I work out. It's like, why wasn't I doing this when I was 21?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and I just like jump up in the air.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I noted it was like one of the first times I noticed this. And I would say, like, I come out and like I was just in a class and it was like crowded and they put too many people in and the stereo didn't work and the fan or whatever. And I come out and be like, good class, right? Good class. I'm like, no. And for this money, I should be walking out with rainbows coming out of my ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like everything was good, or people that it's so funny. I started to notice like 5 years ago. There are certain people. I have an aunt. She's Greek too, but she is one of these people. She doesn't like to hear bad news, and she'll call me up. How's everything's good, right? And I go, well, no, I'm fighting with my sister. Oh, but it's okay. Everything's okay, right? I was like, no. She called me a bitch, and I'm really high. No, but I've done so much for her, and she hung up the phone. First of all, if you are pissed off at me, tell me. I would rather you tell me than do the silent treatment. I have family like the silent treatment. Just tell me. But also, if something sucks, it sucks. And I think it's important to say that it sucks so you could try to fix it and not pretend like everything is okay. So
there's a way that, like, New Yorkers don't go, if there's a fight in the street, there's a fight in the street. But normally, if we got a problem with somebody, we'll tell them, hey, man, it bothered me when you did this.
Right.
But we don't come off, we don't hold it for months and then explode on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that shit happens everywhere else. You hold in all the PC, you do too much PC, there's going to be a giant explosion. And there was. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, you gotta, I always love the movie Brain Candy, the Kids in the Hall movie Brain Candy, where they invent a pill that makes you happy all the time. And at the end, everyone's locked in their happiest moments and the world can't progress. And so at the end, they go, you got to be sad once in a while. It's part of life, and that's the part of the movie. You got to be sad.
Right. And I like you said, it's true. Life is with ups and downs. You're going to be hit with all kinds of things from all kinds of places, and you got to toughen up. You got to put your big boy or girl pants on and, forge ahead.
I have both just in case.
Oh, yeah. Good. Well,
just in case.
You're very open. So that's a good thing. So when you decide, what was the deciding factor for you to move to LA? And did you go to LA first and go, I'm coming here, or did you?
No. It was I lucked out in a lot of comedians, their careers don't progress because of the day job, so they're not around for auditions, or they have to go to bed at 9 o'clock. So I lucked out. I worked Sundays and Wednesdays for 20 hours a day. I would sleep. I was allowed 4 hours sleep. I would work with the mentally handicapped people in Brooklyn. So that left the entire week open to audition and do shows. So I lucked out that way. So I had this great job where I could do that. So I could go on auditions. And I was performing at the Comedy Cellar in Gotham and stand up New York and, everywhere I could. And then Dangerfields, and then I got an audition for an NBC pilot. It was written by one of the writers of Seinfeld. His name was Steve Conan. And in fact, they used his name in a Seinfeld episode. The little boy that pretends to be an architect to get the grant from Jason Alexander's dead wife Susan's fund.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They call his name was Steve Conan.
Oh,
So they named him. So they named him after the writer. So that guy had a pilot. He also wrote on SNL, and God bless that guy. He watched every audition tape from San Francisco, from Chicago, from New York, from Florida. He watched every single one, and he said I was the very last actor on the very last tape. So he must have watched like 20 hours, and I was the very last guy. And he flew me out, and I got the part, and I came and did it. Came back to New York. The show didn't get picked up, but NBC liked me from the pilot, and this was unheard of, but they threw me on a show. I had to audition for it in New York, but they liked me, and they were like, write him a scene. And they wrote me a scene, and I showed what I could do, and they gave me the part. And I just flew out. They gave me $5,000 to move. I lived in a hotel for 3 weeks. Michael Jackson was in the room above me. We'll never forget that. Okay. And it was weird. And then I would walk. I'd just walk to fucking work every day because and then they gave eventually and that was called Three Sisters. It was on before Frasier, and our lead-in was Emerald. Emerald had his own sitcom.
I remember that.
And nobody watched it, so we paid the price for that. Mm-hmm. And then 9/11 happened, and nobody was watching sitcoms for a while. So we just died a slow death, but it was a very good show. Diane Cannon, AJ Langer from My So-Called Life, David Allen Bache, who was a bunch of shit. And so it was a great show. Peter Bonners from the Newhart Show. And we did that for a couple of years, and then I just wound up staying there because I kept getting work,
So did this, the desire to be an actor and you also a stand-up comedian, when did that happen? Was that early on?
Young. I wanted to be an actor. Dream was first. My father would show us.
And the Italian, I'm assuming are you 100% Italian or?
75%. The rest is Scottish, Irish, French, and American Indian, although I don't know where that is.
So I'm Greek, so I understand the background and the family. So what was that like? Because those aren't traditional jobs for Italian or Greek people.
No, my father happened to he loved baseball, he loved old music, and he loved movies and TV. Good stuff. So we grew up watching Laurel and Hardy, Marx Brothers, Abbott and Costello, and Honeymooners. We were on a steady diet of those. And Marx Brothers in particular and Laurel and Hardy blew me away. And then I discovered Tim Conway on the Carol Burnett Show. And when I saw Tim Conway in the Carol Burnett Show, that solidified. Because now I was at the age where I was no longer being entertained. I was now at the age where, what do I want to do? So I was a little kid, and Tim Conway, I was like, I want to do that. And I remember being in class and doing what he would do. Like, I would go to the bathroom in front of everybody, not in front of everybody, like, hey, I would leave the classroom and go to the bathroom, and I put my foot down, so when I opened the door, it looked like I hit my head, and I would, and I would do that, and the kids would laugh, but they thought I was really hitting my head. They didn't understand that I made a joke, but I loved it, because of Tim Conway, and then my mother showed me John Belushi. She took us to see the Blues Brothers. My father took me to see Ghostbusters, and after all those, I was like, this is what I got to do. But I also happen to love George Carlin and Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby himself, the HBO special himself, blew me away. And then I saw George Carlin Playing With Your Head. And then I started looking at old George Carlin albums, Occupation Fool, Class Clown, and I was sold. Carnegie Hall, On Campus. And so I wanted to do that, but not as much as I wanted to do acting. It was like this, So that's that.
And your parents were totally supportive of that, and
Yeah, like they wanted me to have, like, the day I brought home, I did 3 Wendy's commercials, and when I brought home the first check from Wendy's, that's where I stopped hearing about the second job.
got it, got
Yeah,
it.
and they were great. They were great until that, right? Was
I
that?
mean, I think listen, that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
When you have that support system. I mean, some people can
Yeah,
force.
no, I have great parents. I had my father; they were fantastic.
Right. I
And,
mean,
and the more you travel the country, I'm sorry to cut you off. But the more you travel the country as a comic, and the more you go to different cities in Canada and Europe and Mexico and here, you realize how lucky you were that you had decent parents.
right.
Because the more you travel, you're like, wow, like, and you meet them, and they're like, it's great, and like, I'd say there's more fucked up parents than good parents. That's what I'm realizing. So I really realized I was really lucky to be born with those two parents. I couldn't, you know what I mean? They both were a little crazy, but
Totally. No,
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I agree with you, and I know what you're talking about. And when you hear people's circumstances, and my parents stayed together also,
Yeah.
and family was very, very important to them, and they were very strict with me. But you know what? It taught me discipline and boundaries, and
Yeah.
I mean, not that I always drew in the lines, but that was like the young and the stupid time. But
Yeah. My father, I remember, like, my father never said a bad. My father, when he passed away, all of his friends at work said he never said a bad word to anybody. And I'm like, yeah, I get. My father never talked ill about anybody,
that,
and that's incredible.
that is
So I remember when one girl cheated on me, and she was in a fake marriage for a guy with a green card, so he could have a green card. I told my dad, I was like, I want to call ICE and have her arrested. And my father said, don't do that. And I was like, yeah. I was like, this is that's what being in LA for 20 years did to me. Made me a little more selfish. And then to talk to my dad and be like, yeah, you're right. What am I, nuts? So it's like I'll never talk bad about somebody publicly, ever. And that's because of my parents. I'll say to you, I don't like this guy, but I'm not going to do that to groups of people online or like that. My parents are and were very, very good people, and that's so. Even with them being crazy and yelling and screaming all the time, they were great people and are good people. So I think at the bulk that's what's in me. I think.
I mean, that's a great legacy. And,
Yeah.
and like you said, yeah, you are lucky. And when you hear some other people, whether they were estranged or whatever, the parents had emotional problems and couldn't handle
Right.
yeah. And then the yelling and the screaming, I don't know, that is that generation, that's how
Exactly, and it's also Italian in New York.
Right. I have to tell my husband and I talk loud all the time. You
Right.
ultimately you morph into them. You don't want to
Right, exactly. Yeah.
like even those bad habits you morph into.
Right.
So
Yeah. I know that.
it definitely happens. So you did acting first and then you got into stand-up? Is that how that
Stand up is what got me acting.
Okay.
When I was in grammar school, I was the lead of a 6th grade play and a 7th grade play, and then when I went to high school, I was in all 4 plays, all 4 years, and then when I went to college, I had my own radio show, my own TV show. So I was always acting before stand up, but stand up was the first thing I was paid for, and if it wasn't for stand up, I would have met my manager, and my manager is what got me the agents, is what got me the audition. So so without stand-up comedy, I don't think I would have been as good as an actor, at least comedy-wise. Like when you're on a multicam set, the comedian can think on his feet and knows when the laugh, knows what the rhythm is, and knows what the laugh is, and knows what the punchline is, and the setup is. And a lot of actors who never did stand-up don't know those things.
Right.
So that really helped too. But I'm both, I guess. I love acting more because there's no bachelorette party on the set of Mad Men heckling me when I'm trying to act. You know what I mean? Like, I just got off a fucking airplane. Can you shut up, please? Let me do this joke.
Right.
Like, I know you want the show to be about you, but they don't. But whatever.
I've been there. I absolutely get it. So, I mean, that's such an interesting, it really, listening to your story, I mean, you really were destined to do this because everything seems to, I'm not saying you didn't have bumps in the road, obviously.
No, I have a bump right now. It's huge.
Obviously you have, but it seemed like to all go according to plan. And getting a commercial, as I want people to understand, that especially then when I think commercials paid better and you got digital,
everything paid better.
That was right, exactly. That was a huge deal. So if you got a national commercial, Wendy's obviously being that, and you got 3 of them, that can sustain you to do all the comedy gigs that you pay $25 or whatever cockamamie money it is that night. So
I always love that word, cockamamie.
I love the word cockamamie. I use it a lot. I'm going to bring it back because we got to get rid of woke. So I'd like.
I've been watching Lauren Hardy, and I want to bring back and make it snappy. Give me that and make it snap. I want to bring back and make it snappy. I fucking love that phrase.
That's great. It like when we're sitting here, we're talking about what we watched and what influenced us. And I think that's so important. Again, you and I, like, it was parallel. I watched I Love Lucy. So I love Lucy. I watched Carol Burnett, Mary Tyler Moore. Carol Burnett show was huge for me also when I was a little girl. And
Carol Burnett show was the best.
And to watch, and I remember sitting there going, they're making people laugh and they're having so much fun doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
My only thing was that being a little Greek dark girl, not a lot of girls look like me. Not that I'm, it really did stick in my head. Didn't stop me, but I'm just saying, like, I remember, blonde, blue eye, blonde, blue eye, blonde, blue eye.
I know. What you have is real prominent personality inside Mary Tyler Moore. That's what you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So it was the same. It was absolutely the same for me. And so I think about how TV influenced me and and you as well, our lives. And I'm fast forwarding to now. So we don't have any children, but I have nieces and nephews. Now they're teenagers and whatnot.
Right.
They were little kids. And I see like what my 13-year-old niece watches, and it's disgusting. I mean, which is supposed to be for her age group. It's awful. It's I don't even know. I don't even know what to say anymore. I mean, she knows everything. And obviously now we got the phone and TikTok and all that other crap. But
I don't want to be like one of those old people. I hear you. And I don't want to be like those old people like, oh, I don't get this. I don't understand this. This is bad. But honestly, this is a little too much. You know what I mean?
It's as opposed to like our grandparents and our parents, we're plugged in. We're out there. We're on stage. We work with people that are 25. We know, you know what I mean? It's not like we just hang out with people from our generation. I can still look and say that this just isn't appropriate. I mean, the sex scenes and this and who's got what and
sometimes I go, oh, it's a bit much.
It's over the top. We should let kids just be kids. Let kids, especially very, very young kids. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how plugged in you are with what's going on in schools, but
not at all.
Like, it's insane. Like,
I'm not allowed near schools.
What? Teach them math. Teach them to read. Teach them grammar. They don't know cursory. They don't know how to pick up.
They don't know cursive. Wow.
And write. I mean, it's insane. So it scares me because I love them, and it scares me for them. But I know how much that influenced me. So I can't imagine. Well, listen, look, like you said, and we won't like go down that road because we want to keep it, light and airy. But like, look at some of these teenagers and some of the behavior and some of the things that have gone on.
What I noticed is that it's interesting. I remember Steve Conan actually talking about this, that we were talking about YouTube comments, how awful they are. Like, I don't even look at them anymore. And he was saying that he spoke to his niece, and his niece was not bothered by it. So they're not really bothered by what they see. Some of them are, like the bullying people are, when it gets to too much. But I think there's like something we don't understand. But also, I remember once like they think that because of all the anti-millennial stuff, the millennials think we hate them when we don't. But there's one comic out here was like, we're the most educated of all the generations. I was like, yeah, but who was educating you? My generation. You know, it's like, isn't your generation the one that eats Tide Pods? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you're not that, you know. So it's just, I don't like all the evilness. Like, I liked Family Guy, but my favorite thing about Family Guy was like him fighting the chicken, the silly stuff. It was all the insults to celebrities. I was like, why? Like, what? Okay, Pam Anderson has hepatitis. Why you got to bring that up? You know? But I got it. It's like, so there's a whole evilness that I don't understand. I respect it. I respect the fact that it has a market. I respect the fact that being evil on podcasts draws people in and there's a market for it. But I just don't do that. And it makes me uncomfortable and I want no part of it. I'm like a Brian Regan. Brian Regan is a great example. He doesn't do any of that.
Right.
Like he does 15 minutes about donuts and it's fucking hilarious. Give me that.
What I was going to say about was just going back to Steve for a second. His nieces aren't bothered by it because they don't know any better. We're bothered by it because we've seen the other side. So that, you know, I mean, I think that's the norm. But I agree with you. And, you know, to get into, I don't know, stand-up comedy is, I don't know, I can't even explain. It's so hard to put into words what I feel about it right now in terms of I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned. There's been way too much, you know, online. Listen, I've done Zoom shows myself. I've done a lot of private Zoom shows, which I actually prefer because it's just for whoever just hired me. But, you know, people put out a lot of content and I'm kind of hoping that when this thing is over with, that it's like the roaring 20s and people will want to go out again. But I still think it's going to take a long time because of the comfort level of being in and this, like the slow drip of having people sit next to each other and, you know, just like all of that. But you know, I mean, in stand-up comedy, you know, you must have seen it as well before all this as you were doing it. But the PC world was really just, it's very interesting. It's like, there's some things that you can say that are okay and they're horrible, but in other ways you can't. And then there's like this cancel. I feel like it's selective PC-ism.
I feel like the far left and the far right are out of their minds. And they seem to both be in control at the moment. And all the people in the middle, and I think there's more of us in the middle. There's more moderates in the middle. Moderates for everything, not just politics.
Right.
But we're so scared of both the far left and far right that we just stay quiet and let them fight it out. And we just go to work and come home and watch TV.
Right.
And it sucks because I think there's more of us. You know, like it's just the far PC and the far evilness. It's too much. But it's just, you know, what are we going to do? But I've done, we can talk about something happy.
No, you're talking about Brian Regan. And so for me, I also sort of carved out a niche in the Greek market. So I do a lot of hello shows for Greek churches, Hellenic organizations, whatnot. So I had to learn to work clean early on. However, my first stand-up, I took a stand-up class before I did anything, and it was with, and you know him, D.F. Sweetler at the college.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, DF gave me one of the best pieces of advice. He said, write clean because you can always make it dirty. You can't make dirty clean. That was like the first thing he said to me.
Great advice.
And I remembered it for the rest of my life.
I wish somebody had said that to me. And
I'm listening. I'm not like my nose up in the air and I don't you know, and I never curse and all of that because I have. But especially at this point in my life, I do a lot more privates, corporates, parties.
I wish,
And, you know, like I say to them, you know, can I say shit? And can I spice it up? You know, some like, okay, some of them are like, say whatever you want. Some of them say, well, just don't say the F word, you know, whatever it is. Yeah. I gotcha. Whatever you want, because they're high.
It's a talent.
I'm like you. I want to just make people happy. I'm a people pleaser. That's what you hired me. You're paying me. I'm going to give you what you want as long as I can give you what you want.
Yeah.
So
I don't have full clean. Like I can do 20 minutes clean. I can do 25 minutes clean. You want An hour clean, I'm going to say no so as to stay friends with you. Because when I don't do that, you're going to go nuts, you know? And I don't want to piss you off. But I listen, working clean, you can do cruises. When we get older, you notice the clubs don't have 65-year-olds. So when you get older, you can still do cruises. You can still do corporates. You know, like you can have a whole career that you can't have if you were dirty. Now, of course, there's Doug Stanhopes and Bill Burrs and David Tells, but there's more of us that were unsuccessful compared to the ones that could have a whole career and make millions.
Right.
So I started when in between the booms, in between the 80s and the aughts. So there was the 90s, there was in between the booms. And there was very fewer of us. And so you could be dirty and think this is going to work out. I'm going to an HBO special next week. But now that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? There's the whole PC thing. Like Netflix will very rarely give a special to a white male who isn't famous. They'll give a special to a white male who's famous, and they'll give a special to a transgender Chinese person who only has 5 minutes. You know, because because they want them to get the spotlight, and they should. But like they're cutting out, like the fact that Sam Morril and Mark Normand can't get Netflix specials is mind-boggling to me. They're two of the best writers in the business today.
Right.
Anyway, that's the way it is.
No,
we talk about acting. We talk about some of the shows and maybe spice it up a little bit.
Right. No, that's fine. I wanted to delve into your stand career. By the way, you've been on Conan.
Yeah.
And I watched your clip. It was hilarious.
Thanks.
And that's exciting. I mean, listen, those are huge marks. There aren't a lot of late night TV shows, and get those spots. I mean, it's like a percent of a 0.00 of a percent, and you're now in that elite group.
I did it at least. It's like I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll tell you a funny the Conan story that's funny is that I did it twice. I did the late night with Conan, which I really wanted to do because I loved late night with Letterman, the late night with Conan were two of the best shows in TV history, and it was so silly. So when I got on late night with Conan, I was so excited. Now, remember Tim Russert, the political analyst?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He was a very nice guy, Irish from Boston. He taped two or three floors up from Conan. He was really good friends with Conan. They would eat lunch together, both being Irish and from Boston. Tim Russert's son was Conan's personal assistant intern. So when I get to tape my Conan, they're supposed to take you to the stage and show you the microphone, show you where to stand. You could talk to the sound guy and be like, hey, listen, I'm going to make a loud noise, but don't lower the volume. I'm going to get quiet. I didn't get a chance to do that. All of a sudden, the show starts, Conan comes out, and he's got tears in his eyes. Tim Russert died of a heart attack 3 floors up, right before the show.
Oh, my God.
So now they do a skit. The audience is awkward. Conan's heart's not in it. It's the first, and Conan's the best. It's the best. So the skit dies. Michael Strathan comes out. That interview segment dies. D.L. Hillary comes out. His segment dies. I come out. My first 3 jokes die. And then finally, the audience start laughing. And they laugh at the last couple of jokes. So I'm like, oh, thank God. So I sit down with Conan. And the band's playing. And Conan looks at me. He goes, you think 40 is a good age, but you could die. And meanwhile, I'm like, yeah. And then I realized, oh, he's talking about death. His friend just died. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
So I sit there and listen to him talking about his friend dying. And then I'm like, yeah, I was 38. I was like, I'll be 40 in 2 years. And then D.L. Hewley goes, I'm there now. And we're all sitting there sadly thinking we're going to die. And the band's like, it was hilarious. It was so surreal. But when I got to do Conan the second time, I reminded him, I was like, do you remember me? I was there the night, Tim Russert. And he goes, oh my God. And he gave me a big hug. He was like, I'm so happy you came back. Because he didn't feel it was fair. But a really nice guy. I love Conan. My favorite thing about Conan, it was when he got kicked off the Tonight Show. Do you remember his speech? I
remember watching it. I don't remember it per se.
His speech was about us, not about him. He goes, listen, don't get disheartened. For those of you who think that life's not fair, I'm getting kicked off the Tonight Show. I didn't get a fair shot. Don't think that. I'm living proof that if you work hard and are nice to people, things will work out. Like he thought about us. He's
Right.
being publicly embarrassed and humiliated, and he's
Right.
thinking about us.
Right. Yes, I do remember that. I do remember that.
I love Conan. Love Conan.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's amazing. When I got into stand-up, my goal was to get on Letterman, which of course never happened.
I was close, but it didn't happen. Eddie Bro left before I finished.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it.
It's
really
frustrating.
Yeah.
So let's please talk about some of your roles. Yes, you were on with Pamela Anderson. We have to talk about that. She is an icon.
She was great.
What was that like? I would imagine.
She was really, really giving. Like, for an example, like I left her alone. I was polite. I left her alone.
Hang on a second. I'm sorry. Say, what show was that? Was that Sullivan and Sons?
No, that was called Stacked. It ran for 2 years. It had her and Christopher Lloyd.
Stacked, right.
A lot of people didn't give it a shot because it was called Stacked.
Right.
They thought it was going to be tit jokes.
Right.
And then everyone who would have liked the material, because it was actually intelligent, it was by the guy who did Modern Family. Same writers, Steve Levitan.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, same writers. So now people didn't give Stacked a shot because they thought it was going to be tit jokes. And people who thought it was going to be tit jokes were upset that it wasn't tit jokes. So it was that title that screwed us. But it was, we had Christopher Lloyd. I got to work with Christopher Lloyd for 2 years and got to be on a professional Fox sitcom. It was the highlight of my career. It was 36. It was the best I ever looked. And I look like I ate that guy now. But Pam was so giving. Like, for example, I live right by the where they shoot Jimmy Kimmel. And she was going to do Jimmy Kimmel to promote Stacked. And I said, I live right by there. She goes, you should come down. I'm like, really? So I came down. Every girl in the room immediately wanted to know who I was because I'm walking in with Pam Anderson. So like, who is this guy, this fat guy walking in with Pam? So that was great. So I got a couple of dates out of it. Nothing happened, but I had a couple. But in the beginning of a talk show, they go, tonight, Pamela Anderson. They show a picture of her.
Yeah.
So they wanted to take a picture of her. So she decided to give me a kiss on the cheek for the picture. And they said, okay, now just one of you. And she goes, no, use that one. And they were like, well, she was like, no, I use that one. Like, she wanted to share her celebrity with me. And she was so sweet. I really enjoyed working with her. And she was like Goldie. She loved Goldie Hawn. And if you watch Stacked on Hulu, if you get through the first few, like, she's really good at comedy. She knew how to do comedy at Pam Anderson. And I was really impressed with that. And I was always the first person off book, and she was always the second, which amazed me. Like, she really wanted that show to work, and she tried very hard. And I loved working with her. She was really nice. And I remember one time she tackled me. We finished the first season. I fell in front of the crowd. I just laid on the floor like, ah. And then all of a sudden, she jumps on top of me. And I'm like, oh my God, if only my ex-girlfriends could see this, they'd fucking throw it. All those girls that turned me down, I was thinking that. All the girls that in summer camp that turned me down, I wanted them to see. But most of them didn't even know I was on fucking television. They didn't recognize me. So it kind of sucked. But it was awesome to have Pam Anderson tackle you a couple of times, And Christopher Lloyd was awesome too.
Was she married to Tommy Lee at the time? Was it?
No, it was funny because she was dating this one guy, and then she started dating Kid Rock. We called him Bob. His name was Bob.
Right. So
we met Tommy Lee and we met Bob, and we all said we like Bob. And she was like, but Tommy's the father of my kids. I'm like, yeah, but we like Bob. and then Kid Rock wanted her to move to Detroit. Mm-hmm. So that killed that. And that was, and also, she was in the movie the movie Borat at the end, and she said, "Who's Ali G?" This is when Ali G was popular, and I was like, "What do you mean? Why?" She goes, "Who's Ali G?" I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "They want me to be in his movie." I go, "Do it." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yes, do it," because he was like, that was the hottest thing at the moment was Ali G. Right. And so I like to think that I was a big part of her being in Borat,
So, probably
not though.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's good. She's an interesting person. It's, it's funny when you get to be on a set. I've been on sets as well.
Right.
You get to know people. I mean, sometimes, some of the people are exactly what you see. And some of them, it really is a persona. and it's not what you think, like what you said about with Pam. So
she was her heart is gigantic. And to give you an idea, she wanted to show up at work at 10 a.m. and leave at 2. And you would think, all right, this is a selfish person. She wanted to drop off her kids at school and pick them up. She didn't want somebody else to do that. She wanted to be the person to do that. And I think that's great. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I liked her. I liked working with her a lot. She was a sweetheart, and I miss her company a lot.
And then what was Christopher Lloyd? What was he? He's a master.
He was. I saw him develop a character right before my eyes. Like each one of his characters are entirely different each time. If you think of Judge Doom from Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and you think of Fester from, and you think of Doc Brown, you think of Jim from Taxi. They're all entirely different. And he created this great character, Howard March, and you watch him. He's really good. He's excellent. He's excellent at the character. He created a nuclear professor who was just really worked at NASA. He was just really tight. He was tightly wound, and it was great. You ever see him in Dream Team? He's so good in Dream Team. Oh, he's great. Peter Boyle, Stephen First, Michael Keaton. He's excellent at it. So I left him alone for about 2 weeks. And then one day I said, I'm really good at finding compliments for to get actors to talk. And I said, my family didn't always get along, but we always got along when we were laughing together. And I said, I can remember the Taxi episode where we were in the cabin camping and you couldn't close the door because of the wind. And you kept falling on the ground trying to close the door. And he started laughing. I was like, we were all dying. And so we gave him Taxi on DVD for Christmas. He had never seen one episode.
Oh my gosh.
He was, and so I always remember this. We were backstage, and I said, we were backstage about to go on stage, and I said, I just want to say this is the most fun I ever had working with a group of people. And Chris Lloyd goes, me too. And Elon Gold was there, and he goes, yeah, because Taxi must have sucked. and he goes, no, I'm serious. He goes, I'm straight now, meaning he wasn't drinking.
Right.
And so it was just, we got to like make each other laugh. And each time I would make him laugh, I can't tell you how great it would feel. And every time he made me laugh, he would look over and we would break out laughing. And he started dating somebody the same time I started dating somebody. So we went out on double dates, which was crazy to go on a double date with Christopher Lloyd.
Oh my God.
And I asked him, why do you never do interviews? Because back then he didn't do any interviews. And he goes, I like the mystique. And I learned a lot. And I said, which one's your favorite Back to the Future? He goes, the second one. The second one's dark. You like the dark ones. And my favorite moment was, I got to tell you something that bothered me that you did. He goes, what? I go, you did something that bothered me. He goes, what? What did I do? I go, when you killed the shoe in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the cartoon shoe, you put in the dip and you killed it. Why? It was a squeaky shoe. It had no arms. How was it going to fuck up your cable car empire? And he laughed and he goes, I'm really sorry. It was just like he was a really fun guy to work with. And he would do the lines differently every time. So to keep it fresh for him, I would do the lines differently every time. And on sitcoms, you're not supposed to do that. On multicams, you kind of do it the same each time. But I know that he was doing it differently, so I wanted to make it different for him. I wanted to keep it fresh for him, you know? I loved working with him.
I mean, to listen, I can listen to you all day. To listen to your experiences again, like the dream was always for me was to work on a sitcom, and you got to.
I hear you. I got to do. I love doing that because
really do that and go to the lots. Like when I go to LA, I look around, I pass Paramount and Culver City, and I look and Fox and wherever that is, Avenue of the Stars. What is that?
Oh, that's Fox. That's Fox. Yeah, that's what we taped.
You see all the big. I'm like, oh God.
It's rough. I know how you feel because now I drive by and I'm not allowed in there anymore. You know what I mean? I'm now in the guest role, and if I get a part, it's once a year, and I get to go on a lot for a little bit. But I used to go every day. So I drive by and I go, I wonder if I ever get in there again. And it's rough. So I know exactly how you feel.
What are the other shows that you worked on? Tell us.
I've done, as a guest role, I've been on Mad Men, Dexter, Grey's Anatomy, The Middle, Bones, Castle, Shameless. Currently, right now, I'm a recurring character on, not regular, recurring, on A Million Little Things on ABC, which is a drama.
Oh, yeah.
So I just did that yesterday. I did an episode on Zoom right here in this fucking chair because they wanted me to fly up, but I couldn't fly up because I would have to quarantine for 14 days.
Oh, Vancouver? Are they in
Yeah.
Vancouver? Okay.
Yeah, so I couldn't do that. And plus, I have MS and I could not leave for the IV. I have to get the IV. And so they're like, well, there's free healthcare in Canada. Yeah, it's not like you just walk in and be like, help me. If I'm giving birth or I was shot, yeah.
Right,
But if you need care, it takes time to, So, but I got to do that. And I love A Million Little Things. It's a great show. And I get to be dramatic, which I'd never get to do anymore.
Who's
Did a
on,
lot of stuff.
who's
What's
on, who's on A Million Little Things?
There's only one celebrity on it. James Roday from Psych is on it, and the rest is like a younger cast. The guy from Grimm, David Giantoli. It's excellent. It's heavy. It's a heavy show, and I come in and I get to be comic relief for about 5 minutes. And I only done it 3 times, and I'm really happy they asked me because I haven't worked as an actor in a year. So with the pandemic, so it was great to act, even if I wasn't on set.
Right.
But I got to wear pajama bottoms. I got to wear a suit and tie with pajama bottoms. Nobody knew,
Do you get called out for the Italian guy and the gangster?
I never get those parts. I get an agent. They look at the breakdown, and it says fat or Italian. I get sent out for fat. I get sent out for Italian, but I never get those parts because I'm not Italian enough. I'm not like, hey, you're gonna fucking come here. I don't do that,
Right.
And I'm not fat enough. But I'm fat, but I'm not fat enough to play fat. So I never get those parts, ever. And they continuously send me out for them. So every time it says fat guy, I'm like, I'm not going to get it. Now I got to go in because I don't want to be a dick. So it sucks. It sucks. And
you are naturally very funny. I mean, just your storytelling.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It was really nice to meet you.
I know.
We've met before. I know. But it's like if I was working, I wasn't concentrating.
Like Dangerfields or someplace.
Yeah.
I started in the late '90s, and then 9/11 happened, and then year that whatever. But I know we met somewhere along the way. So you mentioned you have MS.
Yeah.
When did you get that diagnosis?
I was on stage in Vegas in 2017, and I felt an enormous pain right here. Now, usually I can fake it, but this hurt so much that I went, and then I stopped, and then I looked up, and the audience was gray. Like, when you get out of a shower, the mirror is steamed up. Mm-hmm. It looked like that in my right eye. And I had to keep talking for another 40 minutes. Thinking I was going blind. It's terrifying. And then I got misdiagnosed by about 4 doctors. So I spent every cent I had finding out what the hell it was. Then finally, I tested positive for something I didn't have. And when I went to that specialist, she goes, no, you have MS. And I said, really? She goes, yeah, you have it's optic neuritis. By then, it was too late to save the eye completely. It's better, but not better. Because you have to do a steroid treatment within the first 6 months. But basically, I have MS. I have lesions in my brain, and I have a problem in my eye. Now, I'm on the best medicine in the world, but I have to do it monthly. I did it today. I just did it today. It's a monthly IV. I just did it today. And they put it in my hand. And it's just, the medicine's great. And I just have to stay on that medicine for the rest of my life. So... And a lot of people are like, if you eat broccoli every day and nothing else, you'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to risk that and lose my left eye. So I'm going to be on this medicine forever. So it's rough. But I'm reading David Lander, the guy who played Squiggy, Lenny and Squiggy. He had MS, and I'm reading his book. Mm-hmm. And he was not as lucky because he was diagnosed in a time before this medicine existed. But it's because of people like him who spoke out about MS, raised money for MS, that I'm on the medicine I'm on. So I love Squiggy. Love Squiggy.
Neil Cavuto has MS.
I think my dog died of that. Neil Cavuto? Who's Neil Cavuto?
Neil Cavuto is on Fox. He's the Fox business guy.
I don't. Okay.
He's had MS for a long time, for at least 20 years, if not more. And this man
you can live on it. You can live on it.
TV show that he does every day. So he's the head.
You have to maintain it. You can't get off the treatment once you And some people are not lucky. It progresses. There's relapsing remitting, and then there's progressive. The secondary progressive and primary progressive. And when it gets bad, it gets bad. So the idea is to prolong it and keep yourself on the medicine and keep the treatment going and be healthy. And then eventually it's going to get bad. Like David Lander, after 30 years, died from it.
Right.
And you saw what happened to fucking Richard Pryor.
Right.
So it's just a matter of staying. It's just a matter of not becoming progressive. But some people don't have that choice. They just have progressive.
Well,
it's horrible.
As time goes on, the research and the medicines do get better as well.
That's what we're hoping.
You're already in a good, from the medicine perspective, it's only going to get better.
Right.
I have a very good friend of mine who a couple of years ago, he said he got out of bed and his left or right foot was dragging, like just drag, and now like listening to you and, these symptoms, they're very ominous. They're just like.
Was that MS, your friend? Was it MS?
What wound up being, long story short, went to the doctor, he wound up being MS.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's on. Whatever it is, he's on medication. As a matter of fact, I remember his wife saying to me, because he did really well and he gets his scans every year and all that.
Yeah, me too. I just did that as well.
Right. And I was having a conversation with his wife. Actually, we were over there in the summer, and she said, he went to the doctor, everything was great. And then my friend said to his wife, well, maybe I can get off the medicine. She's like, no, you don't understand. You need to be on this forever. Like, you're doing well because you're on it. So what exactly sort of what you said.
Yeah. So that's what it is. So it's like, I shouldn't be doing this, but as long as I'm on that medicine, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
But the minute that medicine changes, because you have to change medicine sometimes, I have to drop this. But I'm not dropping this during a fucking pandemic. It's one of the few things keep me alive. Happy.
So how has it been? So, you're in LA, I have friends in LA. I see what goes on, homelessness, pandemic,
It's bad. It's bad here. A lot of people.
You're not married. We haven't talked about a wife, so I'm assuming you're not married.
No. I wish I had, because if I was married, I would have had somebody to pool my resources with during a pandemic. But I chose not to get married in 2009, and I'm still probably paying for that. But it's just the way life is. You make choices. Mm-hmm. I want to do this show. I don't want to go on a trip with your family. I'm being paid $35 at the Laugh Factory. And I wish I hadn't said that, But I didn't say it like that, but you know what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
But either way, you make these choices, and it's been rough because I've barely made a cent this year. And I've made so little money. And I already, because of the MS, was living check to check. So the pandemic really knocked me on my ass. And everyone's like, oh, it's going to open back up soon. Everything's going to be fine. I'm like, no, you don't understand. My job is not the type of job that just opens up and you go back to work. Right. I still got to audition. I got to write the clubs. It's like when it opens up, I don't go right back to work like a factory.
Right.
So we're going to be unemployed a lot longer than everybody else.
Right.
So when everyone's like, fuck the other stimulus, I'm like, nah, I need another stimulus.
Right.
But anyway, that's the way it is.
How are you doing for insurance and all that? I mean,
it's really bad. SAG, Screen Actors Guild, raised their, you know about this?
I do know they raised the base. So it's like really raising the base when everybody is making zero or.
Yeah, I don't know. They apparently, I guess, did it because of COVID. They were losing money with everyone going for COVID.
Right.
So they raised it, so the audience knows. They raise it. You have to make a minimum of $16,000 to be on SAG health insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Anthem. They raised it by they raised it to $26,000 during a pandemic when not one TV show is being shot except for the 5. It's impossible.
Right.
So it's crazy, and so no one's going to make that. They're kicking off 98% of the actors in America off the health insurance, and mine ends in July. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm looking for regular work for the first time in my life. Well, who's going to hire me when all I did is tell dick jokes and play pretend on TV for 25 years? You know what I mean? I have no resume. I can drive for Uber, but that's not going to pay $5,000 worth of bills,
Right. Well,
unless I run over somebody. Anyway, life is fine. I'm in a good mood. I acted yesterday. I just had a Reese's peanut butter sticks. These are great.
delicious.
Yeah, so I'm fine. I have spaghetti. I bought spaghetti. I'm in a great mood. I'm gonna be fine. It was really nice to talk to you.
I know it was really nice talking to you. You have a website also, Brian's.
Yeah, brianscalaro.com. I would love if your fans, if they felt like it, I do these interviews with people about their favorite movies. I just did David Tell, Gottfried, Tom Papa, Mike Starr, who was in Goodfellas, David Krumholtz, who was in Coen Brothers movies, AJ Langer, Vicki Lewis, News Radio. I did Sam Morrell, Mark Norman, Mary Lynn Rice Cub from 24, Lisa Ann Walter from. So I just talk to them about their favorite movies, and it's fun to watch comedians and actors get excited. It's only $5 a month. You can quit at any time. You can join for 1 month, watch all of them, and quit. I don't care. I have a book also called How to Punch a Monkey. It's on Amazon. It's all jokes and stories, and I would love you guys pick it up. I have absolutely no income at all, so I'm not asking for any donations or anything. Just I'm giving you something. It would be nice if you went to Amazon, How to Punch a Monkey, or went to my Patreon. I would love that.
Yes, please go to Brian's website. And
it's all on the homepage. So all the links are on the homepage. Just
your website actually is great. It's nice.
Thank you. That's my friend Jeff did that. It's good, right?
I like one-stop shopping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's also a lot of people are like, I don't see it. It's on the fucking homepage. Just scroll.
It's great, and we're going to put it in the link for when we.
Thank you very much.
Post the show. You're awesome.
Thank you, Ellen. You too. You're such a pleasure to talk to.
Thank you.
A lot of assholes out there. It's really nice to talk to you.
Who has time? I listen. It's hard, but we love what we do, and I think what we do is important. And at some point things will open back up. I mean, like you said, it's going to be it is a rough road. It's so funny because again, you and I saying the same thing. When this all happened, when they closed Broadway, I said we are going to be the last people in line for the whole work thing. So,
exactly. We're the least essential job on the planet. It's nobody's fault we chose this job but our own. And although we complain, like we did today, I'd rather do this than anything. Also because I can't do anything else. This is what I do. So I can complain about what I love. You're married, you complain about your husband, whatever. So you love him. That's that. So listen, I may complain about my job, but I fucking love it. I love it.
And just selfishly, I hope you come back to New York because
I would like to. I think it's time.
We need more people like you in the mix.
Yeah, I would like to get back there. I miss it, and I've been here 20 years, and it might be time to go home. You know.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm nervous about is that out there in New York, I never got laid. Only in LA, because in LA, there's like 20 fat guys with New York accents. I fill a niche. In New York, there's like 4 million of us. Like nobody. How am I supposed to get a girl when the guy next to me looks just like me? You know what I mean? And sounds just like me. LA, I'm a commodity. I'm a commodity out there.
Yeah, but things in New York happen very serendipitously that don't happen in LA, because you're in close quarters, you're in close proximity, as opposed to everybody in their car or in their home.
Yeah.
So
I would like to enjoy the last third of my life in New York.
I do want to tell you that that the shooting has come back up. It has started.
I know.
And as opposed to the late 90s, like when you went to LA, which made perfect sense if you wanted to do TV and film, there is a lot here. As a matter of fact, not to give
there's a lot, but not a lot. There's like, I always say it's like one cigarette compared to a pack.
Yeah.
This is LA, this is New York.
You know what? I'm comparing it to when I first got into this, and there were two shows. It was like Whoopi Goldberg show and Spin.
Yeah, exactly. And Soul Man with Dan Aykroyd. It's not like that anymore. I know that, but once you do the 3 Law and Orders, then you got like 4 more, and then it's done.
I know. Well, but they have a lot of movies and stuff, so there is work. Work. You'll get work, and you've established yourself, and I can't wait to see you in person.
I hope so too. Take care. Thank you so much, Ellen.
Thank you so much. God bless. And my name is Ellen Karis. Check me out. EllenKaris.com is my website. Go to Twitter and Instagram at Greek Chick Comic, Facebook, Ellen Karis Greek Goddess Comedy. Do you have Facebook also? I'm sorry, I don't Facebook. Do you have Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook. I'd rather draw people to YouTube or Patreon or Amazon, but yes, I have Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook, yeah, whatever you guys want. It'd be nice to meet you all. Thanks for listening.
Take care. Take care. Great to meet you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.